Disney 5-minute villains stories. Stories 4 in 1. Disney Sleeping Beauty. A message for Maleficent. It was a time of celebration. King Stephen was getting married. The king's subjects rejoiced, but no one was happier than the three good fairies, Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather. They hurried to the castle to help the king and his future bride. Princess Leia had many ideas for her wedding, but she did not know whom to invite. She wanted to make sure no one in the kingdom was missed, so she asked the good fairies to make and deliver the invitations. Blue wedding invitations, Merryweather said. Can you think of anything lovelier? With the flick of her wand, she created a stack of blue envelopes. Oh no, that won't do. They should be pink, Flora said, changing the envelopes to a pale pink. Back and forth the envelopes went, until at last they settled on the light purple that both fairies had to agree was quite nice. On the other side of the room, Fauna was hard at work on the guests list. We don't need to invite too many people, she said. Flora looked up. Do you think we should invite? Her voice trailed off. Maleficent? Merryweather asked. The fairy Maleficent lived high on the Forbidden Mountain. Her presence rarely brought any good cheer, but still she was one of the king's subjects. With a sigh, Fauna nodded. I suppose we must, she said. Merryweather shuddered. Just thinking about Maleficent gave her the shivers. Who will we get to deliver the invitation? She asked. The way to Maleficent's castle is treacherous, and we cannot risk the invitation getting lost. One of us will have to go, Flora said. She flicked her hand and a dove appeared from her wand. It circled the room 3 times and then landed on Merryweather's shoulder. It was up to her to deliver the invitation to Maleficent. The next day, Merryweather set off for Maleficent's castle. By evening, she had reached the woods around the Forbidden Mountain. Her magic was weak there. She would have to walk. Merryweather looked at a winding path that led into the woods. It was getting dark, and the wind moaned eerily through the trees. Shivering, Merryweather pulled her wand out of her cloak pocket. With a flick of her wrist, she lit the wand. The warm light comforted her, and she bravely continued on the path. Alas, Merryweather was not alone in the woods. Maleficent's minions, the goons, were out patrolling. Even worse for poor Merryweather, the evil creatures loved causing mischief. I'll be there soon. Everything will be fine, Merryweather told herself as she tried to take her mind off the spookiness of the dark woods. But as she went around a curve in the path, 3 of the goons jumped out at her. Screaming! Merryweather ran down the path as fast as her little legs would carry her. Finally, she lost the goons. Those wicked creatures, she said when she had calmed down. I'd like to scare them and see how they'll like it. Merryweather looked around. Somehow, it seemed the woods had grown even darker. A cold wind blew through the trees, chilling the little fairy to the core. Merryweather wanted nothing more than to turn back, but the other fairies were counting on her. As Merryweather made her way down the path, she noticed the trees growing closer and closer together. Large thorns stuck out from the trunks, making it impossible to get through without a scratch. Oh, fiddlesticks! She yelled as her cloak caught on the thorn. Merryweather freed herself from the tree and hurried away as carefully as she could. The sooner she delivered the invitation, the sooner she could get back to the bright, warm castle. Finally, Merryweather reached the edge of the woods. A giant stone staircase loomed above her, leading to Maleficent's lair. Up, 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 Merryweather climbed until at last she came to a rickety bridge. On the other side was Maleficent's castle, its jagged peaks racing to the sky, and a dark storm cloud circled overhead. Merryweather looked nervously at the bridge. It seemed like it would collapse at any moment. Tucking the invitation into her cloak, she stepped onto the bridge. The wood shook and creaked with every step the little fairy took. Merryweather kept her eyes on the stone landing ahead of her. Below her was a deep chasm. If the bridge gave out, she would have a long way to fall. Finally, Merryweather reached the other side. As she stepped onto the landing, a blast of green magic burst out of Maleficent's castle, and a loud scream filled the air. That was the last straw for Merryweather. She took out the invitation and carefully placed it on the castle's doorstep. Then she raced back across the bridge, down the steps, and through the woods. She was so busy running away, she didn't see the goons who had been following her pick up the invitation and scamper off with it. Merryweather didn't stop until she reached King Stephen's castle. She found Flora and Fauna in the great hall. Why, Merryweather, dear, whatever is the matter? Flora asked. Maleficent had better come to this wedding, Merryweather said when she had caught her breath. The journey to deliver the invitation nearly scared me to death. Flora smiled at Merryweather. Come now, she said. How bad could it really have been? Soon the day of King Stephen and Princess Leah's wedding arrived. Everyone in the kingdom gathered for the happy event. Everyone, that is, except for Maleficent. From high on the Forbidden Mountain, the fairy gazed down on the celebration. Look at those fools, she said. Who do they think they are, not inviting me to the celebration? Well, enjoy it while you can. I'll get you for this someday.